Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Thursday, the 21st of November, and today again we will start with Nvidia, which released earnings in the aftermarket yesterday, US session, and the result was that it was a fairly good earnings announcement, and the stock price or the share price only closed down about $1, so only around just below 145. So the technical picture hasn't really changed much. It might do that later today, but let's see what will happen. We are still in this uptrend here, on this channel-like pattern here. We are still in uptrend on the weekly also. However, both on the weekly and the daily, there is divergence on the RSI indicating uptrend exhaustion. So it could maybe be a little bit tired today. So let's see what's going on, both pre-market and in normal session later today. Just very quickly, if we're looking at the semiconductor index here, illustrated by the SOX ETF, the semiconductor iShares ETF, we are in a bearish trend. It's a major constituent of the index, obviously, but it is in a bearish trend. It is below the 217.5. We talked about that some time ago in my latest update on semiconductors, and I'll do a new one here after all the earnings has been released. Some of the stocks are really depressed at the moment, and there's now risk down to around 204 level. We can also here on the weekly see it's formed the diamond like a pattern that is a top reversal pattern broken out bearish. It's still in a positive sentiment, hasn't closed below 40 on the RSI, so still holding on a little bit. But if it takes out the lows here from some weeks ago at 202.80, well then we could be in for a bearish trend. S&P 500 still holding on above this gap area here, which is key. If it does close the gap, meaning if it does close below 5,793, well, then it could be in for a rough ride. However, the RSI is still in a positive sentiment, struggling a little bit, but still in a positive sentiment with no divergence. The peak up here is corresponding nicely with the peak here, so we're still in bullish trend. If it can close this little gap it created here a few days ago, then the uptrend is likely to resume above 6,000. Here pre-market we are down a little bit, about 0.25%, so it's really not much. Nasdaq 100. Same picture really. If it closes the gap down to 20,227, when they close to the below there, well then we could see the 20,000 coming under pressure, and also 19,880, which is the then we will establish a bearish trend. But let's see if it can close back about 20,897. Well, the uptrend is resuming. The pre-market, we are just slightly down about 0.25% there also, so not really much. The Dow Jones Index has a gap down here. If it closes below here, well then it could also be in for a rough ride. But for now, and it's also about 0.25% lower pre-market, so it's still in this range here. There's no divergence on the RSI indicating higher levels, but we still have this top and reversal pattern that has been drawn here that needs to be cancelled. So we are a little bit in a limbo at the moment. The European markets, we had the Euro Stoxx 50 closing below the support here, 47.32 yesterday. It is indicated lower this morning, so expect a push lower below 4,700. We could experience that, and just have a look at here. We are currently testing its support. Here is the EU 50 CFD / the future. So and we are in a bearish trend. We have been that for a while now, and the RSI in a negative sentiment, so likely lower levels. DAX index closed once again just above 19,000, 19,004 to be exact. That is key to hold. It has dipped below a couple of times, but closed above every single time. But here pre-market, we are having another go at it, testing the 19,000. So that would be key to watch here the next couple of days. The Amsterdam index closed just above 858, dipping below once again. We are in a bearish trend, could push lower, and I think we could see it lower here, and pre-market we can see that it is actually pushing below that level, and there's potential down to around 845 level. The CAC index also lower. It is now trading below 7200. Market is now open. We are pushing lower towards 7100, and the Swiss market also lower, dipped to 11,420 down here, and has bounced somewhat. So I think we could be a little bit range bound here the next couple of days, maybe trying to rebound a little bit. Euro dollar tested 105 yesterday, just a few cents above it, just a few pips above it. And that is key. Can it hold or not? If it can't hold, well, then we are looking at levels below 104.50. Around that, we could see levels down there. However, for it to establish a rebound that has failed, really, it needs to take out yesterday's peak at 106.10. For potential up to 106.65. There is divergence on the RSI. The RSI is slightly rising, indicating a trend exhaustion, but the pressure seems to be fairly strong. But if it takes out yesterday's peak, expect to move up to 106.65. The cable sterling dollar also failed to establish a rebound picture, and seems to be pushing lower. If it takes out the lows here at 125.97, well, expect a push down to 125.60, 125 maybe even. If it takes out the peak from yesterday, which was 127.16, well, then there is a potential up to at least 127.70. The Euro sterling, well, got rejected here at 61.8 retracement. If it takes out 83 to the downside, expect lower levels towards 82. It needs to take out the peak here from a couple of days ago at 83.75 to a push up to around 84. Dollar yen seems to be struggling and tried to move higher yesterday, testing this lower rising trend line here. It is not the strongest one, I would say, so don't put too much into it. It dipped a little bit below the minor support here at 153.40. It's not really strong support, but if it takes it out, well, then we could see a sell-off down to 155.40. 151.45 support, which is much stronger support there. There is potential up to 157 and a change, maybe 157.70, but the RSI is indicating trend exhaustion. So be cautious a little bit here. If we are a little bit in a wait and see mode, I would say the uptrend is a little bit stressed, and there is exhaustion tendencies. Euro yen failed to push through yesterday. It needs to get back above 165.05. If it does that, then I think we'll see it push up to 168. There is no divergence on the RSI, which is still in a positive sentiment until it actually closes below 40, indicating we could see a higher push on euro yen. But for now, it's really struggling. 161.90 was tested here a couple of days ago. If it takes it out once again, then I think we'll see a push lower towards 160 and below. Aussie yen still not really doing much after bouncing a little bit above the 55 moving average. Also here, a little bit similar to euro yen. We are in a positive sentiment after being above 60 threshold. Now we are in a little bit neutral. It should push higher towards higher levels, towards 103.5, 104, maybe 104, and maybe even 105. But it really needs to take out the peak here from earlier this month at 102.40. So a little bit, you can see it's basically just trading sideways. So a little bit frustrating. Wait for a breakout direction there. Sterling yen also dipped to the 103.70 support, and the 55 moving average giving some support. Also positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating we could see it after a correction move, but let's see, it's not really there yet. Maybe it's drawing this flag-like correction picture here And if we add the upper trend line also, we could maybe see that is maybe a flag or a pendant-like pattern here, corrective pattern. If it breaks bullish out of the upper falling trend line there, I expect the higher levels. If it takes out 103.70 once again, then I think we're in for a big bearish move below 192. Aussie dollar corrected up to 38.2 retracement and has been rejected. If it takes out the yesterday's peak at 65.44, well, then expect a push up to around 66 to 61.8 retracement. Otherwise, it will slowly sliding lower and push lower. But for now, we are still in this corrective phase there. Dollar Canada. I haven't done much overnight, but I think we'll see a correction down to at least the 139.30 level, which is 61.8, but we could correct all the way down to the 786 at 138.80. If it starts moving back above 140, then expect the uptrend to resume, but there's divergence on the RSI indicating this correction could be a little bit larger than it looks at the moment. We have the sterling Canada pushing below 176.80. I think we could see a push down to around the 200 moving average, which is coming up here at 175.30 currently. And we are in a bearish trend now and expect it to push lower. If we just very quickly look at the weekly, we can see what's going on. It's breaking this rising channel here with the potential down to below 175. EURUSD is currently testing the 93 support, and I think it will break it. We are in negative sentiment on the RSI, and we could see a push down to 92.50, 55 level. You can see where that comes from. Maybe even down to the spike down here back in August. If it takes it out, if it bounces, which I don't believe, well, it could bounce a little bit, but I think it will eventually break lower. The dollar Swiss is in a correction mode here, as we can see if we zoom in on the daily once again. The 38.2 retracement at 88 was the first one. If it takes out to the downside, well, then I think we will see a push down to around 87.30. I'll just remove this, it's obsolete now. 87.30, which is a 61.8 retracement. If it holds on here, it could crawl higher. And the RSI, there's no divergence on the RSI indicating likely higher levels, but for now I think we will see it taking out there, but you need confirmation. And the dollar index also in a correction move, but it couldn't get all the way down to 38.2 retracement, 105.57. If it takes out 107.05, well, then there is potential to much higher levels. Gold is pushing higher in its corrective or its bouncing phase, possibly resuming uptrend. There is potential up to the 61.8 retracement at 26.93. It is above the 55 moving average. And RSI has bounced strongly, still in negative sentiment, but I think it will test the 60 threshold fairly soon. And we are above the cloud, we are above 55 moving average. There's potential up to this area here, just testing maybe 2700. Silver bounce is struggling a little bit, but I think it will come up to, and it also will come up to the 38.160. It was very close to the other day. I think it will push higher towards the 32 even. It's breaking above its falling trend line here on the RSI, which could indicate high levels, especially if it takes out that little spike up there at 31.54 at the other day. Then I think we'll see it push higher above 32. On copper is really struggling. It didn't even get up to the 38.2 retracement at 419. So it really needs to get its act together. If it can get back up to 430 at least, it is still under pressure, negative sentiment, and I think it will be called range bound here next couple of days. But if it can get above 419, well, then there's potential to 430. On the energy side, not much to say. We are caught this range bound between 66.70 and 72.5 here on the WTI crude oil. More or less the same picture on Brent crude oil, obviously. After bouncing with this bullish engulfing pattern here, it should give it a little bit upside potential, but there is strong overhead resistance here, just around 76.5, where we have the 100 moving average coming down. We have the clouds resistance, but the RSI is still in a positive sentiment, never close below 40 threshold. So let's see here the next few days. If it takes out 70 spot 72, well, then I think we will see lower levels. On the natural gas side, we can see Dutch gas is opening higher today, and we can see what's going on. We talked about it for quite a few days here. We are trading in this rising channel-like pattern, but nevertheless, we are in a bullish trend, and it's been that for months now, and there's potential up to 54, 56, 57, maybe even here in the coming weeks and months. On the natural gas, US nat gas, Henry Hub, also pushing higher, broken out of this triangle-like pattern, taking out the resistance at 316, and has now potential up to around 364 level, which I think we will reach here fairly shortly, maybe in a couple of weeks. A very strong move there to demolish that. It really needs to get back below $3. US 10-year Treasury yields, a little bit of volatility around the 440 level. 450 is still key resistance, as we have talked about so many times, and it is key resistance here. You can see why. If it can break above that, well, then there's potential up to 475 on the. But I think we are in maybe for just trading sideways. We need something for it to break out of, and there is divergence on the RSI indicating we could see a correction maybe down to 430, 425. The 2-year Treasury yield also dancing a little bit sideways. It should be in for a correction. If it takes out the 422, well, I think we'll see a correction down to around 410, maybe a little bit lower. The EUROBUND future also in this range, still in this range here between 131 and a quarter and 133. It needs to break out of that, and let's just adjust that a little bit. So see, that is the range that needs to break out for direction. And finally, on the Gilts, UK Gilts, still under pressure here, but also dancing around this 94, 93 level here. And it needs to take out the PCAD 94.64 from a couple of days ago, or it needs to take out 92. There's still downside medium term to around 91 and 90 level. Moving on to cryptocurrencies, and let's start with Bitcoin. Here we have Bitcoin on the weekly chart that is very close to 100,000. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, about 10 days ago, I think it was early last week, that it has potential to get to 100,000. And the reason was that we have this cup and handle like pattern here. We also seen cup and handle on gold. And if you want to know more about cup with the handle pattern, then look at my educational piece that I did on traditional technical patterns. It's in there. And you can find out what's going on. But we have the cup here, we had the brim here, we have the handle over here, and now we have the potential higher towards 100,000. 200% of the handle size is just around 98,600. 161.8 projection of the cup here is just above 100,000. I think we will spike above 100,000, and maybe then we will be in for a correction. So keep an eye on that. Ethereum also in a little bit of bullish trend, but it's really lacking Bitcoin massively, I would say. We can see here it hasn't really caught up with Bitcoin. Everything is going on in Bitcoin, or everything is in there at the moment, and it's really struggling. I mean, we have bounced strongly off the 2200 level, but we really need to get back above 3,600 for potential to higher levels. So it's really struggling at the moment. The Bitcoin is taking taking the sunlight at the moment. So really pushing higher there. All right, that's all for today. Talk to you again later. Have a nice day.